changing Katie's sticker, right? Okay, we're changing her pod. This is for her insulin. So we're gonna take the old one and we need to deactivate it first.
How do you do
Yellow
So to deactivate it, we're going into her,
and purple.
yep, into her PDM, and
We
we have an extended bolus on, so we're actually gonna cancel that. Wait. So to deactivate the pod, we have to go into the pod info screen. So it's at the top, and we can view the pod details, and this one expires coming up, so we can just go ahead and change the pod. And then it'll come up deactivate. And we'll deactivate the pod. And it will take that pod away. So now she's not getting insulin, so we have to go quick. So this is our adhesive remover that we use, Unisolve. So we put a little bit on. Be careful not to get it other places because it will affect the other pod. If you get it somewhere else on our skin, if you try to stick something to it, it won't stick because it breaks down all of the adhesive that's in the, it's actually in the pod to keep it to stick to our skin. So just put it on there, let it soak in a little bit. Katie likes to take it off herself, but not yet. Right?
Yeah, you put all the water on it.
I did. No, we can't do it yet.
That's with the water.
Yeah, it's wet now. So it's wet, so we let it sit for a few minutes.
Yeah.
This pod's not working right now, so with that said, she's not getting insulin. So we get our next pod, our new one, and we are going to open this up. The insulin is going to go into this hole here, and we'll either use this needle that comes with it. There's a needle head in there. She has to, with that, there's a little line that you can see. It has to be at least to there is what they say. What we found though, we've been using the rest of our pens. We can get it to work with about 68 units. Since with hers being so little, we don't use that. I mean, we end up throwing away almost half of the insulin that we put in the pod every time. Sometimes we'll try to draw some out of the old pod. But with the pen, you can actually dial up how much you do. This pen will dial 30 units at a time, so I can do that twice and then another 8, and it will go in. So we'll put a needle head on this that we would usually use to actually get, when we were given shots before, and we can just use that needle head to inject the needle into the pod. I actually need a needle head. So we're gonna put that needle on here. And like I said, I can dial up 30, put it in, dial up another 30.
And we do the wipes on it.
Yeah, that's right.
Daddy.
What, sweetie? I'm in the middle of doing this.
Got it. I break it. You like to do this?
And when you get bigger.
Okay.
So now you can see, not yet.
It's gone now, Daddy.
Okay, now you can see, so there's no active pod. No active pod on here.
Daddy,
So
look.
we have a thing that says set up a new pod.
Look.
So we're gonna do that. Wait, stop.
Then it goes all the way, and then we push
So we're gonna do set up a new pod, and it'll walk you through. It says fill with U100 insulin, and so it basically says to fill with at least 85. But like I said, I can dose this one. 68 is what I found.
And then
So we dialed it up to 30. No. And so I'm going to take this pen and put it in that hole. I'm going to put it down, actually. And just inject that in, those 30 units.
Come down.
I will So we dial it up again, and again I'll do another 30 units. Sometimes, every once in a while, we've had it work at 60.
Then
Not very often though.
Then you push it again. Then it goes.
Oh, it did. Worked at 60 that time. So this pod, it beeped twice. So we know now it's ready. It's ready to be put on and started. So we have to prep her. We're gonna prep her skin where the pod's gonna go. Where do you wanna put your pod today? We can't put it right there because we already did. You want the other leg? All right, so we're gonna put it on her leg again.
No, I'm putting it on my arm.
You gonna put it on your arm this time? Okay, so we're gonna put it on her arm. This arm?
Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta prep it. And how we're gonna do that is we are going to rub it with alcohol first. My hands were clean. Okay, so we're gonna rub it with alcohol. Now we could do it just from here and be done. What we've been doing though, just because we've been having some issues sometimes with them sticking on, is we're going to use skin tack and put it in a circle, leaving an empty space where the actual pod, where the cannula, the needle part is going to go. So I'm going to go a circle and leave a space in the middle of that. So that circle is where the actual adhesive part of the pod is going to stick. And the circle, you can't really see it very well from here, but you'll be able to see it because it's not shiny, is where the cannula part is going to go. So we're going to hit next on here, and it's going to walk us through. So now it's communicating with the pod. We have to it's going to prime, basically pushing all the air out for her, for the cannula, so that there's no air. So it's communicating, and it's also searching the pod, and it's finding it so that it can be connected to it. And then you can hear it ticking, so that's it priming, pushing out all the air. And once it's done doing that, then we're going to stick it on, and we're going to touch the button, the start button, to get it going. Don't touch it.
Daddy, I would be doing it.
You'll have to ask Catherine that.
Do I have one? Please hit the button. Please hit the button.
Okay, so after a few seconds, you hear it ding, and it's done.
Ding.
You can hear now, you can record. Evelyn, wait, please. You can record the pod site, where you put it, or look to see where the last time that you put it somewhere. So, and then it just walks us through it. So it tells us to remove the blue tab. So we're just gonna pull up on that. And now we are going to take off the stickers. Be careful, because these can fold, this sticky part can fold back on itself, which makes it a little harder to put it on. Hold it by the head, and then you can go back to where we had it. Sometimes you can't see where you put the skin tack, so you might need to see a little bit of light, and so I can see the light in the light, so I can see what part is not shiny, and I can see that. So then we're gonna put it there, and we're going to, Katie, we haven't done it yet. We haven't even hit the button yet, Katie. So then we're just gonna go around it to make sure that we're gonna push down on it a few times to make sure. Now, when we hit the button to start it, what you do need to do is you want to pinch her skin out a little bit away. Not pinch, but just basically pull her skin out a little bit away so that it's not going to go any deeper than her skin. So you don't, because we don't want it to go into her muscle or anything. So on the PDM, it has start at the bottom. So when you click start the first time, it'll take you to a screen to confirm. Can Evelyn hit the first start button, Katie? And then you can hit the second one.
Yeah.
Okay, hit the first start, Evelyn. So now it says confirm. And then we're gonna hit the confirm one. And it gives us a screen like this, and it's about 5 seconds, and it ticks.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
And then Daddy kisses it a few times.
Daddy, cookies.
And then we get a little treat.
Katie, you did great.
At the end of it, you also need to make sure, it'll ask you to check for the cannula. Come here, Katie. Come here real quick. And so what you do is look through this little window. Let me spin it around. You look for this little window here to see if you can see that blue, the blue cannula. It looks like a little tube. And so when you see that, it's fine. And on the PDM, you click OK that you can see it. And then that starts her insulin, that resumes her insulin. So that it can actually, so she starts getting it again. You just want to work quickly because the longer she goes without insulin, especially if you've done it after a meal or when she's not level, she'll start to climb. So you just want to get it done as quick as possible. And it always seems like we are doing ours in the evening or near a meal or something like that. But in either way, it's going to start to climb a little bit, so you want to go as quick as possible. So then Katie's peeling off her sticker because we forgot to take it off. It comes off really easy, as you saw, after you let it sit. But it is a little itchy, so we got to come wipe it off a little bit more. Come here, Bug.
Go see Daddy.
Come here. And that's our old pod. It's not any good anymore. You might be able to get a little bit of insulin out of it. But you can see we got the sticky stuff on here that we got to get off, the sticky splat. Right?
Sticky.
So we can either wipe it with the adhesive remover again, or sometimes it can just wipe off.
Daddy, it probably